The people you are most afraid of losing are the same people who are most comfortable watching you suffer. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern you have been funding with your own energy for years, and you have called it love, loyalty, and friendship the entire time. You already know this. You feel it at the end of the day when the phone goes quiet and the only person who checked on you today was you. You feel it when you cancel plans to help someone who would not reschedule a haircut for you. You sit in a room full of people you have given everything to, and somehow you are still the one who feels alone. That exhaustion you carry is not random. It is the specific cost of being the most emotionally available person in every room you enter. And here is what nobody in your life wants you to understand. Your availability is not generosity. It is a pricing error. You have been handing out access to your time, your energy, and your emotional bandwidth at no cost. And when something is free, people do not value it. They consume it until there is nothing left, and then they look for the next supply. There is a term in behavioral psychology for this. It is called the devaluation of excess access. The documented process by which the more available you make yourself to someone, the less significant your presence becomes in their mind. You are not being taken for granted because people are cruel. You are being taken for granted because you have removed every reason for them to do otherwise. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a man sat inside one of the most dangerous political environments in human history, the inner court of Emperor Nero, and wrote something so precise about this exact mechanism that it reads like he is describing your last relationship. His name was Seneca. He was not a motivational speaker. He was a man who watched people destroy each other for power, and instead of looking away, he documented every pattern he saw. He wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And what he meant was this: the version of loneliness you are afraid of, the emptiness you think will come when you pull away from everyone, does not exist. You built it in your mind to keep yourself chained to people who are not chained to you. The fear of being alone is the lock, and you have been holding the key the entire time. What I am about to break down in this video is not the philosophy of detachment, it is the mechanics of it. The specific things that happen inside your psychology, inside your relationships, and inside the way people treat you when you stop being available to everyone and start being valuable to yourself. And I need to be direct with you. The shift is not comfortable. It will cost you people. Some of them you have known for years. But the ones you lose when you start protecting your energy are the ones who were only there because your energy was free. Most people think detachment is something cold people do, something selfish, something broken. Men choose because they were hurt too many times and decided that caring was no longer worth the cost. That is the version of detachment the world sold you. And they sold it to you on purpose, because the moment you actually detach, you become the most dangerous person in every room you walk into. Not because you stopped caring, because you stopped needing. And a man who does not need anything from the people around him is a man that no one can control. What you are about to hear is not a philosophy lecture. This is a field report. This is what actually happens inside your psychology, inside your relationships, and inside the way the world responds to you when you stop reaching for people who are not reaching back. Here is what nobody tells you about the life you are currently living. Every relationship you maintain costs energy. That is not a metaphor. It is a measurable psychological reality. Every text you send that does not get answered with the same effort you put into it, that costs energy. Every time you adjust your schedule for someone who would not adjust a lunch break for you, that costs energy. Every conversation where you are performing interest in someone else's problems while your own problems sit unaddressed in the back of your mind, that costs energy. And right now, today, you are running a deficit. You are spending more emotional energy than you are receiving, and you have been operating in that deficit for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to have a surplus. Detachment is not about punishing the people who drained you. It is about closing the accounts that have been bleeding you dry and redirecting that energy to the only investment that has never failed to pay returns: yourself. And the returns are not abstract. They are specific. They are visible. And they start faster than you think. Let me show you something you have never calculated. Take the last 7 days of your life and run an honest audit. Not the version where you tell yourself everything is fine. The real version. How many people did you reach out to versus how many reached out to you? How many favors did you do versus how many were done for you without asking? How many times did you check your phone hoping for a message from someone specific? And how many times did that person check their phone hoping for yours? If the numbers are not even close to balanced, that is not bad luck. That is a system you built, one interaction at a time, where your effort became the expected baseline and their effort became optional. There is a name for this in behavioral economics. It is called effort asymmetry. And what it describes is brutally simple. When one person in any relationship consistently invests more effort than the other, the person investing less does not feel grateful, they feel entitled. Your consistency did not build loyalty, it built an expectation that you would always be the one to show up, reach out, adjust, accommodate, and absorb. And expectations, once established, do not produce appreciation. They produce irritation when they are not met. Think about that. The person you have been bending your life around does not feel lucky that you are so available. They feel annoyed on the rare occasions when you are not. You trained them to expect you. And now your presence carries the same emotional weight as oxygen, essential when missing, invisible when present. That is what you are detaching from. Not love, not connection, not friendship. You are detaching from a role you never agreed to play, the role of the person who always cares more. Now let me tell you what happens in the first 72 hours after you stop. The first day, nothing. Silence. The phone that you use to check every 20 minutes, sits still because nobody notices your absence yet. And this silence will feel like proof that nobody cares. It is not. It is proof that your presence had become so automatic that your absence has not registered as a change. The second day, you will feel the pull, not from other people, from yourself. Your own mind will manufacture emergencies. You will think of a reason to text someone. You will convince yourself that checking in on a friend is the right thing to do. You will feel guilt, real, physical guilt, sitting in your chest like a weight, telling you that pulling away makes you a bad person. That guilt is not your conscience, it is your programming. It is the specific emotional response that was installed in you by parents who needed you to be manageable, by friendships where your value was measured by your usefulness, by a culture that taught you that a good man sacrifices himself for others and never counts the cost. That guilt exists to keep you in position. It is a leash, and the moment you recognize it as a leash rather than a moral compass, it loses its power over you permanently. The third day is when something shifts. You wake up and the weight is lighter, not because anything external changed, because the energy you were spending on maintaining, monitoring, and managing relationships that were not reciprocating, that energy is still in your account. For the first time in months, maybe years, you have a surplus, and a surplus does not feel like emptiness. It feels like clarity. This is the part that catches men off guard. They braced for loneliness. They prepared for the ache of an empty inbox and the silence of a phone that used to vibrate with messages from people who needed something. But the ache does not arrive. What arrives instead is space. Mental space, emotional space, the specific cognitive bandwidth that was being consumed by tracking who responded, who did not respond, who seemed distant, who might be upset, who needs to be managed. That entire invisible workload drops away. And in its absence, your mind does something it has not done in years. It thinks about you. You start thinking about things you stopped thinking about, projects you shelved, ideas you dismissed, goals you told yourself